Good job. All right. So you want me to start with the prayer or you want to do the prayer?
Does anybody want to volunteer to pray? Didn't think so. Go for it.
Yeah, the biggest smile.
Okay. I'll do a very short prayer.
Make it really short.
Yeah, very short. Okay. Come in. Come in, come in.
Sorry, I'm late.
You missed the show.
I did.
Yeah.
Only time, man.
Anyways, my Lord, my hair looks
I
crazy.
told you.
Oh my
You thought I was
God.
just being insulting, but
It's okay. That's fine. All right. So, a very short prayer to bring us here. And let's be grateful for our lives, for the opportunities in our lives. And let's make it this meeting a very pleasant one, a very nice one, as we get together here tonight in friendship and in respect for each other. And may we learn something here tonight, and perhaps we can apply this in our daily lives this week and bring us more peace and happiness. Thank you, Jesus, for the support, and so be it.
so be it. All right.
All right.
Thank you.
My pleasure.
So
This is not the book.
last week we started with the priest, and we were focusing on the first three questions from the priest, and then this week we're on question 4, 5, and 6. So I have to apologize because I was trying to actually like get the reading out, but we already kind of did the reading last week. It was included in it, but I was trying to get another one out, but I was trying to do it last night at like 10 o'clock. It really wasn't working out so good. So,
That's fine.
so
No
I'm going
worries.
to try to get it out.
Thank you.
I'm going to try to get it out earlier this week. But yeah, because it was actually the last one. It was there, but it was a little cut off, but I think we'll be okay if you read it or not. So Alan Carter is, I don't know, it's interesting because in my book, the fourth question doesn't say the priest, it says a free thinker. So I think maybe there was like another person participating in a conversation.
Actually, can
Says
I
priest.
answer to that?
Because in your book, it says priest again.
But it gives an explanation. In my book says, look, it talks about the free thinker.
Oh, okay.
See?
Typographical error.
You see what it says?
Yeah, it's ambiguous. It doesn't really make much sense.
Yeah.
So,
Thank you, because I thought I was crazy.
Yeah.
Didn't.
I think you're crazy too.
Thank you.
So their conversation, it's interesting. But as I was reading it, I kind of came up with some ideas that kind of would lead to like further discussion.
Mhm.
So the free thinker says, you have proclaimed freedom of thought and conscience and have declared that every sincere belief is respectable. Materialism is a belief like any other. Why shouldn't it enjoy the freedom you grant to all the others? So the context of this is that they were talking about how, like we talked about last week, they were talking about how the church was doing things to combat Spiritism, like the book burning. They were persecuting Spiritists, chasing them through the streets and insulting them, and declaring them basically like heretics. So that's the context of kind of how we're picking up this week. So what the priest is asking is, well, if you believe that everybody should be free, then why are you, how can you say that and then go attack the belief of materialism? So I wanted to just kind of probe you guys. What do you think as far as spiritualism versus materialism? What do you think? Where do you think is the difference? And like, why don't you think the two ideas are compatible ideas, like oil and vinegar, just or oil and water, they won't mix?
Very
I
good
just
question.
finished watching a movie last night called The Bucket List. Does you remember it with Morgan Freeman and
Jack
Jack
Nicholson.
Yeah. And there's a scene where they're on Nicholson's aeroplane, his private jet, and he's the typical materialist, and Morgan Freeman is obviously a believer and a very beautiful moral man, and it was a great movie, incidentally. I don't know if you remember it, but I saw it for the second time last night, and it was like exactly right to be watching it last night because apropos of the question that he asked, and when they didn't resolve anything, but it was just so obvious the difference between him, and what Nicholson had to learn and what Morgan Freeman. I mean, he accepted his materialism and he didn't. I'm not going to try to repeat the whole conversation, but Nicholson was a perfect materialist, and I know plenty of them. There's some of my friends are really there, and the point that Morgan Freeman was making was that about well, what's going to happen, after you pass, and Nicholson was saying that. Well, I win either way because if I'm wrong, Morgan Freeman asked him, "Well, what if you're wrong?" I mean, he said, "There's nothing hereafter." He says, "Well, what if you're wrong?" He says, "Well, if I'm wrong, I win either way." He says, "If I'm wrong, good, that's great, because I'll have Jesus to meet or whatever." uh, and he says, "And if I'm right," he says, "then people miss out on a whole lot of fun that I'm having." He says, "So I win either way." This is the materialist. And it was kind of cute. But then Morgan Freeman says to him, "Yeah," he says, "well, I don't see it that way, but he didn't try to, but he respected what he had to say, but he obviously was a much happier man than Jack Nicholson was. That was the point. Even in this life, Morgan Freeman was in much better shape than Nicholson was.
Interesting.
Even outside of the movie, I think Morgan Freeman. I think even outside of the movie, in real life, Morgan Freeman is winning still. Well, and that's good that you mentioned that, because actually it's like right into our discussion is what are the, I want to kind of say, what are the consequences of these beliefs? Like if somebody's a materialist and like, there's the old saying, play the tape through. So if somebody is a materialist and they're thinking like, at the end of my life, like I'm just going to go to eternal blackness. It's going to be nothingness. Like the consequence of that belief is that you would like live every day like it's your last and try to, it's like selfishness. And then when you have spiritism where you believe that there is, that you're preparing for the future life, how do you think that would kind of change like the way you look at things? Especially think about it, like maybe even think about it in terms of the bucket list. You think like you might be coming to the end of your life, to your life on this world, but as a materialist or as a spiritist, how would that affect the way you're living, like the choices you make?
Can I just add something? I had breakfast this morning with the materialist, is just like Jack Nicholson, and I had asked him, I said, "Arthur, I see no reason for you to change if you're happy." He says, "Well, I'm not happy." So I said, "Well, if you're really unhappy, then you may find out, what you're doing is making you unhappy. Maybe you better not keep doing it, And that was the thing. So what did Einstein say? You keep doing the same thing, and you expect a different result. That's the definition of insanity.
Yeah.
That's good. You should bring Arthur here next time.
I brought him here once. I brought him here But he was, oh no, this is not the place.
Well, if you're unhappy wherever if you're unhappy with yourself, and you come here, you'll still be unhappy.
You take yourself with you.
Yeah. Got nothing to lose.
I heard a guy one time. He was talking about that. He's like, no, wherever I go, like I'm unhappy. So if I change where I'm at, I'll go someplace else. Like I'll move away or go. I'm unhappy, so I'll still be unhappy. And I leaned into my friend next to me and said, imagine how we feel. We have to live with this guy here.
Oh my. True. True.
Well, what do you guys think? Everybody's so quiet tonight.
Right? Scott, Manny, what do you guys think?
Yeah, the guy with the most toys, I guess it's overrated because we've read and heard, and even our friend over here, he's got all the toys and he's got all the stuff. And here we just heard the story a few seconds ago that even Stanley thought, he was happy, and he was the first one. Your friend come up and say, "I'm not happy. I just got a lot of stuff." And so imagine that you do have all the stuff, and that's what you're focused on. And just think of a scale, right? So is that balance? It's great to have stuff, but what about the other part of life? And you got all these people to interact with, and all these things to share, and helping others, and all these things that are good things, right? Things that your parents taught you, and your uncle, and your grandparents, right? These things all are there. They're all sprinkled as part of your path. So for me, if you look at it in that way, an objective way, you can see all the details of missing balance, right? For someone who has all things, and that's a sole focus. Then it's when you say it like, oh, okay, and then that turns into nothingness. Then you go, wow, yeah, that can't be right. So it's that, significant when you start to use what we're discussing here is the contrast. You go, wow, that's way too much contrast to be something that's, right or focused. So then you go and look at another way to live your life, non-materialistic, single focused, or whatever words, and you see balance, right? So I think for me, I have more of an awareness. Maybe 10 years ago, I didn't think this way, but I felt this way, right? So I tried to balance the best I could at the time, or 20 years ago, or 30 years ago. Even though I'm acquiring things and stuff, or a new car, or whatever it may be, it was easy to understand that the balance was important. And knowing that the morality things, the people, the family, the feelings made sense. It worked. Were part of what helped me enjoy my life, right? So fulfillment, a couple other words it goes with this. Contentment. And so obsessive materialism, I don't think it has a lack of that, which turns into nothingness, which is not contentment, which is not joy, which is not peace. So for me, that's that's kind of how it resonates with me. It's almost like the contrast. It's easy to see, can be, right? And what is good is, I think most of us can feel it, and we can observe it if we take the moment to look at it. And then we can study Spiritism to help fill in the gaps of, hey, how does that work? Tell me more about that. Tell me more about this. And I think this is a big deal, the Spiritist doctrine, and what we're learning. And we have a way to fill those gaps and grow ourselves. So that's a big deal.
Do you think materialists know that they're materialists? Like that because we're calling them materialists. Does Arthur go like, hey, I'm a materialist? Like they probably just would kind of like describe a lot of like symptoms of materialism, right? But I don't think that there's any like a materialist church or a materialist
Well, there is a church for Diego Maradona in South America. I'm not kidding.
Church what?
Diego Maradona, the Argentinian soccer player, very famous.
Okay, I don't follow soccer.
Yeah, it's world famous. Used to be really famous like 10, 20 years ago. 30 years ago. Anyways, but he was very famous, like world famous.
Like Beckham.
You heard about it.
Like Beckham, more than Beckham.
like Pele.
Like Pele.
Pele.
Like Pele.
Was there a movement behind that, or a charity?
No,
or
they
what was
they
it?
love this guy so much. It's like, and they made a church to adore Diego Maradona. Serious.
I mean,
So the
yeah,
fan,
we-
like
we
the
have-
fans.
The fans, the
soccer
fans.
fans are kind of like a breed of their own.
That's another
Soccer
obsession we
fans,
have.
so-
Yeah, soccer's a-
I don't,
Yeah, some
with
countries
that,
have it a little
no, I
different.
just want to say that with that, I wouldn't be surprised if there is a group that, of materialists that are, like gathering together to adore to, I don't know, a cult,
The first church of the Golden
cult
Calf.
or materialist.
It's
I wouldn't be
like-
surprised.
It's like Yankee fans. You should have seen
Yeah.
them when they retired Jeter's number. You couldn't find a seat in that stadium. you
Yeah.
know, and it was just like, this was God. You worship
Yeah.
Jeter. Yeah.
But I have a question for you guys. You guys are from here, from the United States. How do you feel this nation? Materialists or consumists?
Consumer.
Consumers.
Well,
So consumerist, thank you. Because there is
No,
a
that's a word,
difference
I don't know.
between materialist and consumerist. There is a difference, right?
I
What do you think?
I don't see it any different.
No, because materialist consumes just as much. So we, it is a popular materialistic society, yes. But I think there's a lot of variety that helps us get exposed to finding our own balance, finding our own path.
Because I see US, from what we see outside, there is a kind of like a culture that
Well,
we should help each other, you should help the economy, so you should consume.
That's not the right
No,
word.
that's
Alex.
not consumerism.
It's not the right word. Yeah, it's not the right
What is the
word.
word then? You know what I'm saying, right?
We're trying to
Well,
find.
What is the word?
It's called materialism. This is what it is.
I mean, I
So
think
these people instead
I'm
of
not
worship
sure what
is where
constructive
money
worship
is God.
Mhm.
Like, they worship money.
I think the two things, materialism and consumerism, they may have different like definitions in the dictionary, but as we're talking about spiritism and these, like they have a lot of similar attributes, and so it's
Right.
like we don't really
So,
need to mix
yeah.
words too
No,
much.
but
It's hard for
the
them to
reason why
understand
I
what you're
bring
saying.
this, it's because you asked that question before, and we probably are mixing, probably in a lot of people's mind that, because to buy things, it could not be the same thing as to die for those things or to love those things above all. It's just,
It's an obsession.
Don't you think
It's
it could
consumerism
be
of
a
material.
difference there, don't you think so?
No,
I see a difference.
I think consumism, whatever you call it,
Consumerism.
it's a subtype of materialism. So you
Okay.
can be materialistic and then either be crazy about buying things or be crazy about
Hoarding
just
money.
hoarding
Yeah.
or
Okay.
different things. But it's just like a subtype.
Okay.
Uh,
I don't know, I'm just
And,
putting
these,
out there.
these
I don't know.
words probably have different meaning. Like to us as spiritists, we look at like things like that. But if you were talking to a person out in the world who's a non-spiritist, and they would say, "Oh, people are so materialistic," like Madonna said that song when she's a material girl, and she wasn't saying I'm material. She was trying to, I believe she was actually trying to like say it's not a good thing.
Educate, yeah.
But people hear what they want to hear. You know?
I think for most Americans, they won't call it materialism, but I think that's just the status quo in the United States, and I think I understand what you're trying to say is like they're always trying to get you to buy, the next newest phone. They're always trying to get you to buy, more things, and spend more money and keep the economy going.
Right,
So I think for us in the United States, we don't really see it as materialism because there's always somebody who has like so much more than you in the United States. But I mean, if you look at
right.
the poor people, even in the United States,
So you'll have
I mean, they all have air conditioning and TVs and flat screen TVs. I mean, you look at the poor people around the country and around the world, and they don't have anything. If you make over $50,000 in this world, on this planet, you're in the top 1% of the richest people in the entire
True.
world. If you make over $50,000 a year.
Yeah.
That's how spoiled we are in this country. But I mean,
True.
we wouldn't call it materialism, but I mean, I guess it's kind of like it's the beginning, it's the factor, it's the foundation of materialism because you always want more, and you always see the person with more toys than you, or a nicer computer, or a nicer
Get it.
car, and you always want, you always want more. That's just how they've.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Interesting.
that,
Bred
that
us.
culture, right? So the society, if you look at the different generations, for example, so our parents and grandparents, right? So maybe our generation, and the next generation, we're going to see how, how materialistic they are or not. I believe that the generation before me, my parents were more conservative. Um, I think part of the industry, right, is producing things that society is poised for. So maybe there is some taking advantage, knowing that the culture is going to jump on the next hottest gadget or
Yeah,
what
but
have
you
you.
can't blame the corporations.
But
People are like
society,
lining up outside the Apple store.
Right. Yeah.
like,
I mean,
for
they're,
the
it's,
new
it's
iPhone.
programmed.
So-
We're programmed for that, you know.
Yeah,
That's how
because
they-
I don't do those things,
Yeah.
so you can blame the
Yeah,
corporation.
you can't say corporations are bad.
Yeah.
They're giving
Yeah.
people what they want.
So
Yeah,
so
I
yeah,
agree.
so the culture, right, is the one
Because I
kind
am
of
never there.
the
Buying
culture is
anything.
developing the blueprint, right? And so the society is following that.
Greedy
Um,
people don't see themselves as greedy.
Right.
They say it's natural. Everybody's
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
Especially
The
for Americans.
materialist will
Especially for
never,
Americans.
the
Yeah.
materialist will
It's
never
normal.
say he's a materialist.
Right.
So and I guess that's really the end result of materialism is greed, right?
Yeah.
That like
Right.
I want for me, I want it now, I want more.
Yeah.
It's just like
Isn't everybody like that?
See, it's normal. It's normal for us.
Yeah.
It's normal.
So the balance, so where does the balance come?
Nice conversation. I like
So
this.
I think it's important to realize that there needs to be a balance. The discussion we just got to ended up at an obsession. Greed is an obsession in a way. It's an unbalanced focus in a way. So I think.
But do we all agree
knowing
that
that-
we could be materialistic and spiritualized? Could that be? Is that possible?
Absolutely. Because we're all learning,
What do you
we're all
think?
evolving, yes.
Possible?
I had a conversation with somebody from the Spiritist Center who I really respect her opinion
Uh-huh.
because she was telling me I need to dress a little nicer when I come to the Spirit Center.
Okay.
Not like this.
You look nice to me.
You know.
I don't think that's possible.
But-
You don't
But-
think it's possible?
And this is somebody I really respect their opinion. They're telling me like it's okay to have like nice clothes, like it's okay to have these things as long as you're not like living your life for that. Like you can be happy with yourself, but it was like we
What
don't need
happens-
to like humiliate ourselves. To
Right.
prove
What
how-
happens? Thank you. What happens if we drop all the materialistic things? We will become what country? What country do we know that they totally are in denial of that material stuff are important for us to live our lives? It's India, right? India. They are so focused in their spiritual life that they are in denial that the population, you need to have the basics. This is going to the extreme of spiritualism and forgetting that we need the balance. Right?
That's true.
Am I-
No, that's absolutely true. And, India is, you get a lot of poor, unhappy people, in spite of the fact
Yeah.
that they're spiritualistic.
And if they're dying in agony with their disease, oh, this is your karma. You gotta suck up, or you gotta, deal with it. It's your problem. I'm not gonna help you. I can't help you because that's your karma, and you have
Like
to go
Scott
through.
says, it's unbalanced,
Exactly.
But it isn't a matter of being materialistic, to wear nice clothes. Jesus himself was material. He was accepting the gifts from the rich ladies,
Exactly.
right.
That's a good point.
But we talk about Genesis, and they say like that the matter is here for us to evolve through. So it really takes a lot of self-knowledge to say like, what am I doing like that's for my own evolution, and what am I doing that's against it? Because we can really come up with a lot of ways to lie to ourselves.
Yeah.
But material things are an amazing tool to do other things, to
Sure.
work for others, to to grow ourselves through the responsible use of material things. So my first reaction is, no, we cannot be spiritual if we have materialism in us. But then, if I think about it a little more, we have to learn to grow through this life, which is material in itself. I mean, we've been put here in this world with a material body to begin with. So that means, at least here, while we're here, um, we have a mission of becoming better also through material things.
Just like Steve was saying, that we can't blame the corporates because of our weaknesses. It's the same thing, because of materialism itself cannot drive me, weak. Cannot change my personality. That's my weaknesses.
Even if we vote with our dollars, people are always saying that. Like, if you don't like what a corporation stands for, don't spend your money there. Because you're voting with your dollars.
Exactly.
So, and I can't really stop other people from doing what they want to do. Like, there's been a lot of bad press in the last few years about like Abercrombie and Fitch. But
Right.
people will still. I guess now I think they're actually selling out. I heard they're going bankrupt or talking about buying out or whatever. But for a while, it's like people still shop there. They don't care. Hobby Lobby was in the news because they didn't really respect women's rights to, for their health care or whatnot. But people still. Somebody was telling me I need to go there the other day for something. I might. I'm just saying.
Right.
For some kind of crafting
Yeah.
thing. So it's funny because I mean we could talk all about that. Corporations and politics probably shouldn't get mixed up, but in reality, it's what we're focusing on, what we're spending, and as a human race, together, it's like sometimes you want to be like, what are you people doing? Like these people that, for me, I get like upset when I think about people lining up outside the Apple store. I don't know, I'm just like, you don't need that. Like, it's just ridiculous. It's too much money. Like, I'm a droid, so.
I'm a droid. So. Yeah, I don't understand, but I mean, hey, man, if that makes him happy to wait in line for all day to get a new phone, hey, man, hey, go for it. I'll be at home.
I think we need to remember that there's nothing wrong with money. God provide this. He provided our ability to travel, and we need to for our own balance. See things and be comfortable, enjoy the sights and the nature and whatever these things are. So those things are important and necessary for our own personal balance, our own personal joy, so that we can then observe all the other things. I think part of what we're discussing here is the difference between an excessive materialistic path or not. So I want to, because some of my study, this is real important, I want to say, because this is a recent study of mine. Money is not bad. Money is here, right? If you dug up and found some copper in the ground, is that bad because it has a value? No, this is on our earth right now for our utilization. How we use it is what makes a difference, right? So let's make sure we understand. So I think the best word that I could use would be balance. Or like in business, some of what I do for my work is harmonizing business. There's a lot of chaos in business. There's change. There's adapting to different markets and the way business run and harmonizing those changes. Keeping an even keel, if you will, balance. It's important. Same thing individually. So these recreations and these materials, we enjoy those, but in excess is a problem. I think part of what we might see now, this is my opinion, is we're going to continue to recognize that we're getting out of hand, right? Like the housing market or whatever may be happening. So we're going to continue to recognize, but what's going to happen is it's not going to be up to us anymore. We're going to be getting older, and Gen X is coming up. Gen X finds an opinion on everybody else before they buy something. And we have the millennials. Their culture has a different way to look at things and buy things. So again, it's just about all of us helping all of us balance. And then now, in my generation, I'm getting a little older, so now my children are going to be the ones setting the next tone. Well, we're already seeing the iPhones and things. Hopefully, it'll settle down. But back to the reality is, those who have found it's about balance, we have a role to play in sharing that and educating that with people we know in our lives. so that the excess of materialism could be minimized in some way, if that's a real word to say right now.
Why do we work?
So
Why do we work?
To pay
it works,
taxes.
a universal law.
Why do we work?
Because work help us to have discipline in our soul. Because work is.
Well, I mean, I'm not talking about working in the Spiritist Center. I'm talking
No.
about
Job, work,
I'm
right,
talking
right.
about
You
the
get a
job.
job,
Me
right.
too. Me too.
Okay.
Because it elevates our soul. It makes us to go up in the society, and then we can help each other. And the ones that are stronger can help the weaker, and the people that are sick, we can help each other. One day in the future, there will be no such a differences in our society, and that will be through work, through jobs.
Okay. But in the Bible, the fourth commandment is 6 days shalt thou labor, and the seventh day is the Sabbath. Well, we have to be spiritualizing,
Right.
what's going
They're
on.
right.
Right.
So that's the balance.
Right.
That's the balance.
And we see already this balance in a few countries in Europe, Northern Europe, where they do not work more than 6 hours, and that they respect this time that they spend with family and leisure. And this is very strict in those countries. I lived in Germany, and these people, they don't work like many hours like here in the US. They don't. Work is just this part of life, but it's not more important than the other parts of your life. And it is just that it's a different culture here, and in Americas, in all the Americas, because in Brazil is like this too, work, work, work. But then this is this culture, but it's not everywhere like this. But then again, as you guys are talking, since we don't have yet the balance we need, the control we need to work on that, and we go through those experiences so we can reach the point that we have the balance.
So now that
That's why I was curious to hear
we
you
work
guys.
6 days a week in order that we make our money, and then what do we do?
But here's the
So
thing.
on the seventh day,
But here's the thing. Let me ask you this. Let me ask you this. What do we do right now in terms of regulations with the justice and how the amount of hours we work? Do you think it's gonna be the same in the future? Like, for example, this law of working 6 days and then resting or leisure
I mean,
on the
devoting
seventh
the seventh
day.
day to your spiritual growth. I'm not talking about spending with your family, going to the beach.
Right, I understand. So that was showing the importance that you have to pay attention to your spiritual growing, but that was a symbolic. We have to find because we are not the same. We are not robots. We have different personalities. We have to find this balance, because there are people that they're better in the morning, and the others, they're better in the evening. So how I develop my spiritual life should be something really personal. And I think that it's a symbolic thing to say, hey, yes, you work, but then one day you will have to pay attention. That was calling to the fact that spiritual development is as important as material development, like having your house and what to eat and those kind of thoughts. That's just one thought. I'm not saying it is the truth, but I'm just saying that the more advanced we are, the more complicated rules we will have, just like a car. You remember the first cars? They have it was pretty basic stuff in the car.
Yeah.
Like the engines was pretty basic. Get what is a fancy car right now? Ferrari is not a fancy car. It's like, give me another name. Very fancy.
Tesla.
A Tesla. Compare the technology in a Tesla car with the first Volkswagen.
Yeah.
So the more advanced we are, the more little rules and things, paid attention to details we will be. This is like we are part of nature. Everything is, it's, we don't even understand nature yet. It's so advanced. So many things in nature we don't know how this grows. How come this animal knows where to go? It has a natural GPS, where to migrate, etc., etc. We can't understand these kind of things. So back there in the time, that's my point of view. They said work 6 days and the seventh day pay attention to your spiritual life. So right now we are kind of lost.
Well, the whole idea to me has always been that when you can spiritualize the other 6 days while you're working, so your attitude to what you're doing is completely changed.
Right.
You could be a bricklayer or a musician or whatever it is, but when you're bringing your spirituality into what you're doing,
Wow.
so
Absolutely.
this is what the,
Yeah.
But
Absolutely.
again, that seventh day is used for rest and relaxation. No, that's not what it's for.
Right.
It's for spiritual growth.
For spiritual growth. Yeah. We that's why we need to talk, get together like this. And the Kardec says in the question that he's asking, Steve is asking, Kardec says, we do not attack individuals, he's telling the priest, but a philosophy. So each one of us, we are responsible to meditate, contemplate how we live our lives, creating this balance. So what Kardec is saying is a philosophy that we should work to get all the toys in the world, get all the money in the world, and that's it.
I can tell you a little bit from experience too. Like I don't want to like humble brag or anything, but when I was starting to study Spiritism a lot, I was actually between jobs, and I actually went and looked at the chapter about the law of labor in the Spirits book. So I was kind of like, because I was kind of like, should I get a job or should I just try not to work for a long time? But like, I eventually returned to work, and I don't know about what other people see. I think like my attitude towards my work is like completely different. Like after having studied Spiritism for a little while, that it's like, because I actually left a job that I hated and like just was miserable there. And I went to a job that it wasn't perfect, but like my attitude, and it was the same job. That's what I'm saying. It's like I left the job, I went back to the same exact job, and my attitude towards it is completely different. Yeah. And even like I'm dealing with some difficult people and have a hard time and like trying to like work and grow through it. But at the end of the day, it's like I don't take it home with me, like and I actually like feel pretty good like most of the time at work. Like it's not an easy job. I have a laborious job, it's a physical job. But I kind of look at it with like a good attitude and just kind of like as far as like learning to let go, like sometimes I'm feeling it's a great place to like learn how to let go of stuff when things come up, people, attitudes, like people kind of explode sometimes, and I kind of have like navigated in a way that I kind of stay away from like the drama and I'm just there to work, and I actually like enjoy my work. Like I was looking around at other places that were hiring, and like I was getting emails and stuff, and then I actually like realized it's like I actually like my job. Like I don't want to.
Wow.
And
Interesting.
it like felt weird to say that.
Right. I get it.
That speaks a lot about yourself, because the bottom line is wherever you go, there you are. You take yourself with you.
Right.
And I've read and done some study where it talks about that wherever you happen to be, especially if you're in a place of contrast like your job, and you're good at it, but there's things around you, right? But it's not the things around you that's giving you misery. You're just focused on those things. And clearly, kind of what you discussed, what I heard was, through the study of Spiritism and learning what's important, right, and how it's yourself that you're growing, and not focused on all the little broken things at work and people's attitudes. you found a place for your own peace, right? Your own balance. Back to that word again, and harmonizing in the same. Just for those who are listening, it's actually the same company in the same role with the same people. This is why this is dramatic. And look at him now. Look at him discussing what he is now. Because I know I was having a conversation with him a year ago, and we were having this, and now that feedback is phenomenal. And I think this is a great
That's the
benefit
future.
to this group.
That's the future.
Just being able to drop the attitudes
Yeah.
and your own dramas and your own stresses and go, you know what, let me
Yeah.
focus on, just finding
Yeah.
my
You're
own
making your way,
peace.
man. You're making your way.
And then the
That's
people
the
respond
I
to
know
it
you say it's not
differently.
going so good, but it's going good, man.
But here's the thing, you realize that because of the way he acts, people are responding to him differently. And they're, they may be trying to give him a hard time, and when he does, he's not responding to it. And then the other ones are coming up and they're reacting to him differently because of the way he's conducting himself, not
Right.
worried about them and their dramas. And it's a big deal. So I'm just admiring, and kudos to Steve, because it's a big deal. And
It's true.
It's nice to hear that.
This is a hard thing to do, to
I have good
change
days and bad
yourself
days.
and not to change the environment, because usually we want to change the environment as a solution to our problems. Oh, I mean, go away and see other people, and we're gonna bring our weakness with us to wherever we go. So
Yeah.
we're gonna reflect.
Like the grass is greener on the other side, that.
Yeah.
I have a tendency at jobs to
Just green.
find like one
Yeah, it's
person,
green.
like there's just always one
Do you-
person that like drives me nuts, like gets under my skin, and it's like I thought about it, like my first job, it was my boss. Then like the next job I had, it was like my coworker, and like, I don't want to mention any names on the internet. And I was like, man, if I could just leave, like I changed jobs so I could get away from that person. But like, go to the next job, you find like the next person that's gonna do the same thing, and then like this job, I found like the next person,
Yeah.
and I actually work like hand in hand, like directly with the person that's like my biggest challenge right now. and I might just be in a good mood. We've been having a good week, so I don't know. I'm just like, I don't know if the guy's just bipolar or what, but we're on like a good terms this week, so I'm feeling kind of better about it. I'm like, oh, okay, I think we'll just try to leave it this way, But that's why I was like, man, I need to leave this job because of this guy. And I was like, and I was thinking about every job I had the same problem with somebody. Like I'm just gonna stay here until we can kind of get over this, and then, maybe someday I'll be like ready for like my dream job, but for right now,
I hear you.
I know I kind of.
Can I ask a question? What is Sixth Sense doing there? Because
Oh.
I just saw the movie the other night.
Yeah.
Yeah, Bruce Willis and
That kid.
Sixth Sense, the movie, yeah.
That's why it's so- that's why
I
it's so
seen the
cold in
movie
here all the
before,
time.
but I tell you, I really appreciate it.
Did you enjoy it that night? We
I
were
really enjoyed it.
That's
I
what
was laughing at something.
I
I was laughing at
No,
something.
you didn't. No, you didn't say this.
So that's why it's so cold in here all the time.
Right?
Oh my
It's dead people, yeah, right.
Oh my
You see dead people too?
Everywhere.
It doesn't exist.
Well, I mean, I usually see people that are gonna die.
A lot of people are looking at it. I know they did, but they don't know it.
Yeah.
So
Anyway, so
well, I went over my time we started about 10 minutes late anyway, so
that's
we
okay.
could go on to the next. 'Cause,
That's okay.
I just
Go
want to
on.
say before we close this, this Kadek, he goes over this in the answer. To me, the single most important thing in making that change from doing the same things, but with a different light and with a different attitude, it's the idea of reincarnation. It's the single, for me, it's the single most important thing in making that change.
Mm.
And in going from that materialism that implies egoism to a more spiritual view and use of material things and material life.
Materialism is who you are not. Spirit is who you are. And as we de-obsess, we become more who we are.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But But you can't disobsess unless you recognize that you're obsessed. And most materialists
True.
don't know that they're
True.
materialists.
Sure. We are so blind about who we are, about ourselves.
Yeah.
I think even if we went to a room of mirrors, we couldn't recognize ourselves. We really we can't. Anyway, sorry.
I think that speaks to the fact that, we need this human interaction and the sharing and
Yeah.
the fraternity.
Yeah.
Because each of us are part of our role here is to interact with each of us, and that's part of the balancing of us being humanity, right? All humans on this planet. So, and I just wanted to say that because this is something that continues to resonate with me. Um, our role is to grow ourselves, morally ascend ourselves towards perfection. But we do that through the interaction of others, which are required because others require things of us, and then we learn through experience as well. So, let's not forget just because we're working on us that we go off in the corner somewhere and everybody can stay over there. It's not how it works. We're also here to interact with other humans regularly as part of our own experience and our own growth.
And I pulled a quote from, because actually we're still on question number 4 out of this. We never got to 5 and 6 today. And I'm kind of paraphrasing a little bit, but it says belief in the future life changes the course of ideas. So I like how Juan kind of wrapped this up, because that's really like what we're trying to get at. It's like once you
Yeah.
realize like that there's going to be consequences for what we do here, then you have no choice but to live a little bit differently, or I have to admit that sometimes I know better and I just do it anyway, do the wrong thing anyway. But that's a whole nother podcast. So thank you guys so much, and I'm going to try to send out the readings for next week, but we're still going to be on 5 and 6, so we'll see.
Well, then it's the same.
We
I'll
could
resend it. I
we
resend
we
it.
could read the same thing.
I resend the
Because the 6
same
is a little cut
file.
off, so we didn't even get there anyway. So I'll see. I'll look at it and then I'll.
Okay. Do you
I
want
was
to close
confused.
the?
I thought that we had passed the 6, but I guess not.
No.
Okay.
Yeah, last week we did 1, 2, and 3. And I'm just counting like the questions of the pre-SAS, like the pre-SAS, the first, second, third question. We did the 4th question today.
Do you want to close the Facebook?
Oh, no.
Oh, I forgot. I forgot to bring my beautiful ad about the magnetism workshop that will be on July 22nd and 23rd. We have a attendance sheet right there in the library. If you want to come, its contribution is $30 for both days, and there is food in both days. That's why the contribution of $30. So we will be here, and because there are no places around here to eat, that's why the Spiritist Center brings the food for us, and it will be wonderful. We will be on Saturday. Will be a theory about all the whole school of magnetism, how it started, where does it come from, who was the first scientist to talk about it, how did it started, and then we're gonna learn all the other people, or the other scientists, and the news about magnetism, the updates in science about magnetism, and then on the second day, we will actually learn how to manipulate the animal magnetism with our hands, the positions, and there will be some teachings and the healing depression, the exercise, the magnetism on depression, to heal depression. So tell your friends, and maybe someone is interested. It will be fun. It will be really nice. It's just so interesting. It's actually fascinating. I don't know if I ever told you this here, but I went to France actually to get an international certificate in magnetism, because after so many years of magnetism in the Spiritist Center, I was doing a research on Google because I wanted to go to the mesmerism school, and there is one guy. He's a psychiatrist. His name is he's Italian. He's Dr. Marco Pare. He lives in Nice, France, and he actually his school is in Nice and Roma and Rome, Italy. So I went to Nice because I had a friend there, and I stayed there in a long training on magnetism and to get my Magnetista Emeritus, the certificate, the international certificate, because I wanted to learn what Kardec was studying for 35 years. Kardec was studying magnetism for 35 years. But anyways, this all gonna be on July, and it's gonna be nice. And
July
it's
22nd and 23rd.
22nd and 23rd.
Saturday, Sunday.
I will be posting this everywhere in all the groups, and if you want to, you
And
can.
yeah, this time it's all going to be in English, so it's not going to be like
Correct.
When I did it last year.
Thank
it
you
was
for
in
saying
Portuguese,
this.
and we had to wear headphones because they translated it very nice and translated. But this time it's going to be like
All in
in
English. Thank you for saying this. True. It's gonna be very interesting, and if
Including
you
breakfast and lunch, both days.
breakfast, lunch,
a
and
full
And
English
coffee
breakfast,
break.
and coffee break.
English,
So
English lunch.
in English lunch.
Yeah.
So
Big fat
if you are
cheeseburgers.
if you are not gonna be using this regularly, at least you can use, with someone that you love and a loved one that is in need. And it's always good to learn something so helpful, healing work, right? It's always good. I will be here.
Let me ask you a question about that.
Sure.
As someone who has not been exposed to magnetism, I had not been exposed to spiritism, with no study, and they go to a magnetic healer, and it doesn't work because their mind gets in the way.
If they're not receptive, but there are some people that have never been into those things before. If they are receptive, if they are looking for healing, it works.
Yeah, most of the people that actually come for the treatments,
Yes.
they have to come for duration. It depends what their diagnosis is. So most of the people I see that actually it doesn't work on them is because they stop coming. They don't,
Right.
They don't
It's not a
fulfill their
single session, is what.
Yeah.
Some cases, there's we know of that improvements, measurable improvements, on certain cases can be years, and some could be weeks or months,
Yeah, I mean, some people need to come one time. It depends.
depending on the condition, the case, the disposition.
I know a bioenergetic healer. I know him very well. As a matter of fact, I mentioned him in my book a few times. His name is Seth Coleman, and he charges. And I know that's such a no-no. I mean, how come? I mean, he's very popular. People who want to come to him.
Anyways, but
Talk about that.
invite anyone. It's not required for anyone to know spiritism or magnetism. It's a healing work, in nowadays this is a very common. There are a lot of workshops in healing, right? Like light workers, healers, and this is another one. Reiki, shaman, and these kind of things. Okay.
All right. Well, with that, I guess we'll end our broadcast. Right.
Thank you.
Thanks, Facebook.
Thank you. See you
Thank
next
you.
week. Okay, so we go to question.